In a world full of imposters, how do we know when we're being real? In a world full of so much pain, will these drugs really help us heal? What did Jesus and Buddha say about our suffering and about our light? Isn't it turning our judgments to acceptance? Or are we more concerned with being right? Is self-love that elusive? Are we really that hard to forgive? We pay for some mistakes 1,000 times and miss 1,000 moments for us to just live. We get distracted by so many things every day. So let this podcast put us in park. But keep the seatbelt buckled tight and welcome to the light and the dark. Hey everyone, Vinny here. Thank you for joining. If this is your first time, welcome. This is episode 3 of The Light and the Dark, brought to us by G Level. So this episode, I have a couple of cue cards and different things because this episode is going to talk about anxiety, depression, and feeling lost. So I wanted to make sure I hit several topics. I wanted to make sure that I kind of got everything that's going on in my mind out on paper and then out there. And so hopefully I hit it all. But again, thanks for joining. And I want to start this episode by talking about anxiety. So my journey with anxiety has been since as far back as I can remember. I remember when I was a little kid and I was sick, I remember just trembling, just laying in my parents' bed, and my mom was just throwing blankets and blankets over me because she thought I was cold, and we didn't really know what was happening, and I would just tremble, my whole body. It sucked. And as I got older, that continued to happen. So, let's see, maybe early 20s ish, it got so bad to where I had to go see a psychiatrist, and they put me on medication. And I remember them telling me I have a chemical imbalance and I'm going to be on medication for my entire life. And I was defeated. It was the worst feeling ever. I don't like medication. I don't like taking even aspirin. So at that time in my life, though, I didn't have a choice, or at least I felt I didn't, because I didn't even understand what was going on and what was happening. Fast forward, went through a lot of anxiety still, and they had this pill for the morning, this for the afternoon, this for at night, this one for when it's happening to like kind of numb us, and it was just too much. So I went to a psychologist, and I remember him asking me when I got there. He asked me, "So why are you here? What's your goal?" And my goal, I told him, was to get off the pills. I'm experiencing anxiety. I always have. My mom said, it's hereditary. She has it. My grandmother had it. And when I told him that, he was like, okay, anxiety's like, I can help you with that. No big deal. What? Craziness. Because I had been experiencing this my entire life, and he just made it sound like, hey, we got this. But I loved it. So that's kind of where my journey with anxiety has taken me. And it's been pretty wild. It's been pretty scary at a lot of times. And now that I understand it more and I kind of talk to people and hear their experience and what they go through with anxiety, I wanted to have an episode to where I kind of talk about it, but also give tips and tools and things that have helped me. Because going through all of this, I wish that I had someone that just said, try this. And a lot of times I'll watch a video or you'll see somebody and they're like, oh, follow these 5 steps and this and that. And they just drag on for 40 minutes and don't get to any steps. This is not going to be one of those. I want to give real world situations, real world things that we can do that have helped me. There's probably more out there, I'm sure. I don't know all of them. I don't know if I need to do a disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist. But this is from my experience, what I went through, and what helped me. Hopefully it can help somebody if they need it. So I want to start with one of the things that when I learned was the most interesting thing I quite possibly ever heard. And that is that anxiety, or feeling anxious and feeling excited, are almost identical in the physical responses inside of our body. What? You heard me. Being anxious and being excited is almost identical to the feelings that are happening in our body. So when I learned this, obviously, now the only question is, well, what story are we telling ourselves? Are we telling ourselves we're anxious? Or are we telling ourselves that we're excited? Now, some situations we'll already know because it's maybe a situation that makes us feel anxious. Other situations, like a lot of times you hear people like with public speaking. And I remember my little brother, when I used to present more, he would, as soon we found this out like around the same time, so he would hype me up like crazy. And I'd be like, man, I'm nervous. My hands would get really cold and I would start to feel anxious, and he would just start hyping me up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm telling myself I'm anxious, so I'm gonna feel anxious. Let me switch that. And I'm like, I'm excited, man. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna crush it. So it completely changes our mindset. It completely changes how we view things and how we're able to approach things, because now we just switch that story and we're still having the same feelings, but now that story's different. So I wanted to start there because just coolest thing ever. And then I wanted to go to, and then like I said, I wrote some stuff down. So a couple of questions I think that are important, right? So to start off, what are we experiencing in the body when we experience anxiety? For me, it was a lot of trembling, shortness of breath. Are we experiencing trembling? Are we experiencing shortness of breath? Are we, what exactly is happening with us, each one of us, when we're experiencing that? And next is, when we're experiencing that, what's actually happening in our brain? Now, sometimes with anxiety, we know the story. It's running on a loop, right? Man, something's wrong. We got to get help. And it's crazy because we start experiencing the anxiety, then the story happens that makes us more anxious, and then it just keeps going and keeps going. So, on this point, I want to talk about the way that I understand anxiety to be. So, what's happening in the brain is the brain is perceiving a threat. Because as hopefully we might know, the mind isn't able to recognize the difference between what we think and reality. So if we think something is happening, the mind's going to react to that. Which is why, a whole nother episode, but why when we get into manifesting and we get into the feelings and affirmations, that's why it's powerful, because the mind doesn't know the difference, so we're actually teaching it and showing it that path. So when we go through these things, like we're sitting on the couch watching TV, next thing we know, we're shortness of breath, we're tightness in our chest, we're trembling, and we're sitting there and we're like, oh my God, what's going on right now? And the brain is perceiving a threat and just feeding us. I think it's like epinephrine, norepinephrine, like different things. It's feeding us the chemicals for fight or flight. So it's like dumping all this fight or flight. We're ready to fight. We're ready to run. But all we're doing is chilling, watching TV. And it's scary. So what happens is we're sitting there. We're like, oh my God, something's wrong. Because I'm trembling right now. Or I'm hyperventilating. And so understanding what's happening is a big step. Because now we know, okay, this is happening because the brain is perceiving some kind of threat that it's now trying to help us fight or run from. So what happens in the body is in response to that. So that's the beginning of understanding kind of what's happening with anxiety. Now, this can happen when we're going to give a presentation. This can happen if we're meeting somebody for the first time. Sometimes it can happen being in a crowd. It can happen, put on the spot for something. Sometimes it can happen, a lot of it used to happen to me when I was home alone. And I would just start thinking about just random thoughts, or I won't even share what I would think about because I don't want to put that in anybody else's head, kind of what I was thinking about. And, I don't want any type of triggers for me either. So, but that's what's happening in the mind, and that's what's happening, the reaction to the body. So Now, with some of these, like I said, we can sometimes be conscious of it. So if we're conscious of what we're actually thinking, that's a huge advantage for us because now we can change that story. We might be worried about something. We might be thinking, tomorrow we have an interview. Oh man, I hope we get it. And then the mind just starts tricking. Well, what if we don't? Well, what if this happens? Or what if we can't pay our bills? And it's just nonstop, right? So if we can recognize it, and if we know the story, we're already 10 steps ahead, right? That puts us in the driver's seat to where, okay, recognized it, now let's change it. So I want to talk about a couple of steps now, specifically for anxiety, that help me heal and help me when I experience it. Because although I don't experience it like I used to, I used to experience it a lot. And I will say, since seeing the psychologist, I slowly just kind of weaned myself off of the medication until I haven't been on medication now for, I don't know, 10, 15 years roughly. And probably closer to 10. Probably closer to 10. So I want to give you some of the steps that help me. The first one, this one probably helped me the most because I remember going into work and it was such a weird feeling because I was walking down the hall that I'd walked down a million times and none of it felt familiar. It felt like I didn't know where I was. And I remember going into, like, there was a little room that had an elevator, and luckily there was no one in the room, but I remember just panicking and trembling, and the thing that the thing that I was able to repeat to myself. I actually called the psychologist on this one. This is one of the first times I used this, and it blew my mind, right? So the thing that he taught me is when we're experiencing these things, like I'll give you an example. For me, I'm trembling, right? So let's say my hands are shaking. So when my hands are shaking, what we want to do is we want to bring awareness to it. So we do this by saying, right now, I'm aware of the sensation in my hands right now. And we need to do this very exaggerative. We need to bring awareness. Right now, I'm aware of this sensation, right? We're aware. And then we just brush it off. So what? Who cares? Whatever. Right? Now we let the brain know, okay, I see it. No big deal. Stop pushing fight or flight. Stop pushing these chemicals. There is no threat. Chill out. I see it. So what? Who cares? Now, sometimes we need to do this over and over. I want to be very upfront and realistic. When I said it the first time, it didn't work the first time. When I repeated it a couple of times, it stopped. It slowed down and then it stopped. So if we're going through this and experiencing this, be mindful. Do it a couple of times because we're trying to get to the brain and let them know there's no threat. It's all good, right? Same thing, we feel it in our chest. I'd feel a lot of tightness or a lot of things in my chest, and the same thing. Right now, I'm aware of the sensation in my chest. Who cares? Whatever, right? That's all we got to do. Say that's all we got to do, but in that moment, it was scary. It sucked. But then after overcoming that the first time, I think that's kind of when my whole journey started, seeing the psychologist and overcoming it, where it's like, wow, we're way more powerful and capable of things than anybody is telling us. So that's the first thing. That was, for me, probably the biggest game changer. The next step is breathing. Sometimes we'll have these, be like hyperventilating. And we need to bring awareness to the breath. And a lot of this is used in meditation. A lot of it is used in a lot of different techniques. But breath work can help. We just calm the breathing down. Just, right? Just take a breath. Just calm down a little bit. That helped a little bit as well. And becoming present. Becoming present was something I actually used often too. So when I experience it, sometimes it's because my mind is in a different place. My mind's worried about this, thinking about that. So being present is more like, okay, I'm going to feel this. I'm going to touch this. I'm going to focus on this for a minute. Or I'm going to feel the paper. Or I'm going to feel my shirt. Or I'm going to smell. It's using our senses to bring ourselves to the present moment, because when we're experiencing anxiety, depression, and all these things, we're not present. Where our mind is in the past or the future, and we're experiencing the responses of that worry or the anxiety of it. So the last thing I'll say about that is kind of what I talked about a little earlier, and that's if we understand the story, if we know the story that's being told, now we're in the driver's seat, now we can change it. So what we want to do is, let's say, and this still I'll tell you what, this happens to me on a daily. I am constantly in my head changing stories because I'm recognizing them more now than I ever did in my life. I never recognized them so much, but now I'm recognizing them so often because I'm like, man, why do I feel like this? And then that voice in my head that just starts chirping and starts. So when we recognize the story, and I'll use the example again of, like, if we have a job interview tomorrow and we start thinking, well, what if I don't get it? Well, what if this or what if that? We can stop it, or we can change it. Well, what if I do get it? Man, that'd be a great role. Or what if I don't get it? What other opportunities can I do? What if this isn't meant for me? Is this really what I want to do? And we can kind of ask ourselves, and we can bring ourselves down a path of really discovering ourselves and discovering what we want. So that's anxiety. that's the gist of it. Those are some of the tools and some of the steps. Next, depression. So what's happening with us specifically when we're feeling depressed? Are we feeling sad? Are we feeling lonely? Are we allowing our thoughts to beat us down? I know with myself, a lot of the times I feel sad or feel lonely or feel these things, it's because I'm letting those thoughts beat me down. I'm letting the thoughts tell me that I'm not this, I'm not that, I'll never be other, and it just kind of keeps going. And it's so crazy because it's like, these are thoughts that I'm having. Why am I having thoughts that are beating me down? Right? So really starts by understanding what is happening when we're experiencing depression. And the next thing, and this one I think is extremely important, and I do mean this in a genuine way, is, do we want to change it? And that is a all serious question. Sometimes we think in the moment that we don't want it, but then we really don't want to change it. We just want to deal with it. And that's up to each one of us. However we want to live our life is up to us. But we need to be honest where if we want to change it. I remember when I was going through counseling, I had another friend also that was going through counseling. And his counselor told him, hey, you need to go do this. You need to be around people and, socialize to help get over social anxiety, whatever it was that he was experiencing. And I remember asking, well, how'd it go? Were you okay? And he was like, what? He's like, I'm not doing that. And I'm just like, well, then why'd you go to the counselor? So be realistic. If we want to change, we can change. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It is kind of easy as soon as we understand that it's really just within our mind. It's not like we have to build a house by hand, but we kind of have to build the house internal by hand. So the steps can be easy, but they're still going to be challenging, especially when we're in those moments of depression, anxiety, and things. That's when it's challenging. But just remember, we got to switch this. This is where we live. I'll tell you, no matter where we live in this world, right? We can move to this country, to that country, be with this person, that person, on a boat with a goat, under a moat. It doesn't matter. We are always going to be here. So this is definitely something to be mindful of and take advantage of, and be willing to change if that's what we want. So the steps to heal with depression, I think that the biggest one for me is gratitude. Now, gratitude is so important because remember, we cannot be in a state of depression at the same time that we're in a state of gratitude. Just can't be. And gratitude is also the simplest thing. I mean, we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to buy anything. We don't have to do anything external. We just need to look within. We look within and we know, okay, and I do this in G level. So in G level, this one, the first one's gratitude, and that's why. So with gratitude, it's thank you for. And this can be, and sometimes it's going to be very, very challenging when we're in these depressed states to find something. But as soon as we do, we start realizing, oh, wow, I have a lot to be grateful for. Thank you for having hands. Thank you for having eyes to see. Thank you for a roof over my head. Thank you for being able to walk. Thank you for food being so easily accessible. Whatever it is, gratitude is the easiest way to pull us out of that state, and we can use it unlimited. So, next one is finding our happy place. Finding a way to smile as much as possible. It's like Happy Gilmore. If you've seen Happy Gilmore, find your happy place, right? Because again, if we're happy, can't be depressed. So, deciding that we want to change, obviously that's going to be the first one. Gratitude will pull us out of that state. Finding our happy place, and again with the stories. So when going through depression, we can hear a lot of stories and it's just beating us down, right? So I would say challenge it and change it. Every story, every story that tells us, we're not good enough. We're not meant for this. We're not whatever it is. Every story, challenge it and change it. I am meant for this, and maybe this isn't meant for me at this time, but I trust that I'm going to be guided. God, the universe is going to guide me through life and guide me through the path I'm meant for. And when we have that faith and we have that trust, then we can challenge and change every story. So don't give in to the stories and believe them, because we're amazing. We're amazing in every way. And the last thing I want to talk about is feeling lost. Now, feeling lost is actually probably the main reason I created G Level. Waking up feeling lost every day and feeling, like I was just repeating the day over and over. So, G Level started as a goal system. Started as a way for me to have something different to not feel, to feel purpose. So, with feeling lost, I think the biggest question is, do we have goals? Do we have something in life that we're going after? And I mean goals for ourselves, whether it's our body, spiritual, business, goal for our families, whatever it is. Do we have goals in mind? Do we have goals that kind of touch everything that we want to, or are we just kind of drifting through, seeing what every day brings us? And are we actively going after these goals? Because we can have a goal of, okay, I want this, or I want to be, if I want to get rid of 20 pounds, but then every time we see some cheesecake, it's cheesecake time. Cheesecake's delicious, but is it because we don't really have that goal front of mind and that we're actively going after like that? We will have weak moments. We're going to have times where we fail. I mean, failure is a part of life, and failure helps us grow and helps us learn. So when we fail, let it go. Okay, what did I learn? I learned that next time I'm gonna avoid that cheesecake. I learned that, next time I'm gonna do this instead, or I'm gonna whatever it is. So, and then, are we doing the same thing every day, expecting different results? Einstein's definition of insanity. If I'm saying that I want to build a multi-million dollar business, if I'm saying I want to have a new car, I want to find someone that I can spend my life with, but every day I'm just coming home, watching TV, working my 40-hour shift, and not saving money, not doing anything. It's like, do we really have that goal? Like, are we going to keep doing the same thing and expecting, for what? So, feeling lost is directly related to if we actually know where we're going and if we're going there. So, the steps on this one is first, decide our direction in life. Question mark in the G level. It's direction. Direction is very important because if we hop in a car and we don't know where we're going, we just drive around just like life until we run out of gas. So, know where we're going, have that direction, and own it. Own that. Sometimes we have to keep our direction and our goals to ourselves because people inadvertently put their fears on us, or their doubts, or things that may, especially in early stages of us going after goals and deciding, it may deter us from doing it. Be like, man, this is stupid. This person doesn't think it's right. So let's be mindful of who we tell our goals to. And if we can't tell them to anybody, then we just keep them inside. But have them, go after them, like, have that direction. There's no dream that we can dream that's too big. Believe me. There was once never airplanes in the sky, and anyone who thought about it was crazy. And now it's like all you see is airplanes. So whatever our dream is, whatever our goal is, just believe it, find it. This is very well. The next one is going to be like the. Sometimes it could be challenging if we take on such big goals and big tasks all at once. If we want a car and we're like, I'm going to save $1,000 a day. It's like, how much do we make right now? If you got it, let's go. But small steps can be better. If our goal is to save X amount of money, and we have this, I mean, we could put aside $1 a day. We can, if our goal is to get rid of weight, we could do 1 push-up a day. We can walk in place for 1 minute a day. It's all about small steps, because even those small steps are getting us closer. We're not going to feel lost now because it's like, hey, I'm not in that same spot I was yesterday. I'm a little bit closer. So, and then doing something new, right? We want something new. Let's do something new. I'm going to close off the podcast by saying, just a reminder, we control our happiness and we control our peace. We will have things in life that are going to challenge us. We will have things in life that are going to push us and try to knock us down and try to stop us. But we can control how we respond, and we can control our own actions. So if that's what we control, that's what we focus on. All right. Episode 3. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully see you again next time. As always, smile big and smile often.